The current 74th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations is uncovering many urgent planetary issues influencing every aspect of all species' existence, including humans. I paid attention to the US presidential call for religious freedom as the most basic existential law granted to us by our Creator. So I start from there. The most known prayer of the Bible that is connected to the roots of three largest religions is asking our Father in heaven for his kingdom to come on earth the same way as it is in heaven. If I can claim my religious freedom, then I'm entitled to ask for his kingdom to come. Heaven is really like a heaven, and its skies are crystal clear blue with pinkish touch on the horizon. Actually, in a similar way, our skies used to be just decades ago. What has happened to them since has been the subject of so many controversial scientific explanations and studies that people with sane logic and inquiring minds came to a conclusion there is something strange going on, and the carbon dioxide story got pale in comparison with the graph of historic levels of methane in the atmosphere. The cover of 1990 Air Force chemistry training manual for cadets gives us a key to the connection between methane and what we can see in our skies, chemically induced persistent contrails. Unless everybody understands this, no politician, no government can solve the climate change issue, but the militaries themselves. Um, What I found further was enough to realize that the scientists of the highest defense departments had progressed to the next stage of human evolution, which India calls the age of electricities and magnetism. And having access to the esoteric science, they were inspired to experiment with nature's most fundamental atmospheric processes, trying to understand their mechanisms and eventually take control over them for military, political and economic purposes. The consequences of such learning and control are called climate change, and as they have become so visible and they are jeopardizing the very existence of life on Earth, it would be wise to seize them. Certainly in this current form, until our knowledge combined with wisdom increases. How it can be done, I do not know, because there is a close connection with the military defense systems surrounding the whole planet and belong to the major superpowers, the United States, NATO, Russia, and China. There would have to be created an international peace treaty signed not just by all four superpowers, but by every country on Earth. Taking the fact that our most profitable business on this planet is the arms industry, which automatically requires warlike environment, I can't see a quick solution. Our situation is not properly understood despite my 10 years long public surveillance. We have new exotic psychotronic technologies at our disposal which do not recognize any physical boundaries, as they are just pure invisible energies in their essence and can be digitally directed to any solid or living target from anywhere on our planet. They can affect every aspect of our lives, our psychological and physiological states. They totally invade not just our privacy, not just our bodies, but our own minds. They can literally enslave them against our will, and there is nothing one can do about it. Nothing except reconcile with it or commit suicide. Such deep despair they can evoke. By invading your mind and communicating with you, they deprive you of privacy with God, which is evil at its core, and with the taken course towards the Internet of Things and one global financial digital system, the warning of revelations crosses one's mind. Another aspect must be understood. These technologies work on a global scale. You can't deal with them nationally unless you are the global superpower who owns the satellites. They affect the climate and people anywhere on our planet. That gives unprecedented level of power for those who possess them, and essentially every government will want to implement them. What is very obvious, not just from my case, but from thousands of other targeted people's testimonies across the world, that for such a high level of scientific advancement, humanity is not ready, ethically, emotionally, spiritually, nor juridically, in order not to cause some extreme imbalances in the planetary system. There is a space for bringing the order in and create a proper legislation to protect citizens from being exploited. So far, it contributes to extreme levels of hatred and total mistrust in authorities, which seems to be unnecessary. Mr. President Trump talked in his speech at the United Nations Assembly about rediscovering the ancient mysteries. Yes, such time is ahead of us and will bring to this planet many blessings beyond imagination. But what is rarely explained to the public, that mysteries beyond the matrix are not reachable by the current standards of morals and ethics, where each nation's policies think in terms of nationalistic boundaries. Yet, that is indeed important, as each nation on earth was given some specific, unique function in the creation's process, and that needs to be preserved and expressed. But we have to understand that the very technologies we are talking about, technologies that connect all of us in an instant moment, are the attributes of the invisible world of which our physical one is a manifestation. Quantum physics has already proved it on a subatomic level. It is a world of the high order and high objective laws for which the higher level of consciousness is required to ensure that the immense power of such world can't destroy the creation by its egoistic endeavors like ours. In that world of electricities, we do not need any passports, as there are no state borders. People do not understand this because such topics are presented only in the film industry and taken as something virtual. The current situation on Earth is extremely difficult to deal with because there are two forces in play. One is unconscious and the other one conscious. The first one is your master of artificial intelligence and its Internet of Things, and the second one is a force connecting us with the conscious absolute, the Ariadne thread. The first one brought us to unconscious dependence on Wi Fi, to social credits, robotization, hybridization, and the New World Order. And the second force is fighting it. The first can use any means, good or bad. The second force can't use any violence. And the general uninformed public makes it even more complicated because it can't distinguish between those two. It is actually almost impossible because everybody in the public eyes has to lie or use symbols, and one must read between the lines. What I'm trying to say that this new age of invisible energies without frontiers, of which we ourselves are composed, needs to be met with an adequate thinking and be perceived in the right way. Please take the Bible Tower as an example, literally and as well as psychologically. On the lowest floor at the basement, we see only the walls. On the first floor, we see the garden around. On the second floor, we see the streets and the houses. On the third floor, we see the whole district. On the fourth floor, we see the whole country. On the next floor, the whole continent. On the next level, the whole planet. And higher up, the vastness of the universe in which our planet is only a little insignificant speck. Even if we all uh, spoke, let's say English, we would not be able to understand each other because of different points of view. And that is exactly what's happening nowadays. So some sort of a common language needs to be created. With all scientific facts available from quantum physics and genetics, we should already know that the universe is spiritual. And if everything is a vibration on a subatomic level, then there must be what the late Romanian conductor Celibidache called central reference system. Our ancestors called it God. Our current scientists can't use such term, but are allowed to consider the absolute. The genome of species must have proved what the esoteric science claims from the beginning, that we do not originate via the Darwinist way of evolution. This is a very disturbing fact that I consider irresponsible to hide from humanity because of the consequences it has on the future of mankind through the scientific projects in the field of genetic modifications concerning all species, not just humans. There is no objective conception of the purpose of life on Earth yet, nor do we know why we were created. And under such circumstances, to perform genetic modifications among different species and introducing artificial DNAs into the newborns via vaccinations without knowing that a human body was created for the purposes of not just procreation but actually creation, it means that we might be depriving the future generations of the possibility of that higher creation, which is our birthright. We know nothing of, and its early manifestations our medical industry treats as schizophrenia and delusions, while the military uses it for spying techniques in the Matrix. I see several ways how to approach this controversial situation. The first one is the reconnection of our science with the ancient religious scriptures, as there is much higher scientific knowledge to be decoded, and for that, a higher level of so called being is needed. Both fields will mutually benefit from such reunion, and so will humanity. That is already happening, but the religious violence dominates headlines of the news. The most convincing proof is in the hands of the planetary leaders, whoever they are. The esoteric scriptures I studied for many years and verified their truthfulness state that we consider that what we consider as our sun does not give heat nor light. Carefully studying the ancient scriptures and some physics, one can reach an independent understanding. I truly believe that humanity in the third millennium is intelligent enough and deserves to know this mystery and deserves to be treated with dignity and compassion. It will be a wake up call for the whole planet to realize that we were created not by any evil ET, but by divine power, and that our destiny is to return in time back home to the Holy Sun Absolute. If we want to move forward, we need a common language to do that. And to move, we want. There is no plan B, no matter what.